Good morning, everyone. Ragewood here, back with a Dragonheir Science Gods video. It is Saturday, and it is the first day on the test server that I've had a chance to play with the new Chief Challenges. Now, today we're going to be looking at Aschetius, and he is weak to lightning damage. So this is going to be our Thunderbolt and our Dauntless heroes. I will try and get round to everything. Becoming a full-time job though sometimes makes that hard, but the plan is to maybe have a look at Necro a bit later on today, and then tomorrow I'll do Frost, something like that. Now, a couple of things, or caveats, I suppose. First thing is my Psyche core. Now, this is where I've got to. I've got everything up until this point, okay? I haven't got any of these because we don't have enough affinity solvent on the test server to be able to max that out. So a lot of the comps, for example, either don't go the distance or they fall just short of damage thresholds. A lot of that could change once you have these. For example, in today's one, increasing the crit damage, that will make a huge difference, and as well as taking less damage. So when you get to that point where we're doing the play with the stash, the 15 boss fights, chances are you're going to have a lot of these completely filled out. And the goal here is to get 22 million. Well, you want 22 million so we can get those 5 petals, essentially, to get Calavera. Alright. Now, I'm going to do this a lot like Gorax tends to do on his live streams, in that I've already tested a load of teams in gear, and I've posted screenshots to my Alliance Discord, and I'm just going to show you those pictures as proof, essentially, if you'd like to see them. Some of them are more free-to-play friendly. Some of them are absolutely not. Alright. I don't have time to go through everyone's individual team comps either, so if you've got maybe one from here, one from there, just sort of take a bit from the concepts of this fight, I suppose. So we're going to jump in. And we're going to take a look firstly at the boss's stats, his abilities, that kind of thing. So, as always, 280 accuracy and resistance to what's the word they use? To guarantee or to ensure that you're landing your debuffs or resisting the burns. Now, to get this on all of your guys, it's going to be quite hard, whilst maintaining damage, okay? So the other way around it, I suppose, is you want either debuff removal or debuff immunity. So we're looking at Aschetius. His base passive, his basic attacks deal fire damage to enemies in 3 adjacent tiles in front of him. So ideally you want to avoid having multiple melee heroes if you can. That's not something that I've sort of concerned myself with, but just bear that in mind. And his base stats have a 50% chance of inflicting burn. As always, we're immune to control. And then his first 2 abilities are the battle skill, where he deals fire damage and inflicts 2 stacks of burn. Same again on the second. And then the ultimate is the one where he goes, yeah, and then like Falco punches down. He will dispel all burns and deal fire damage. Then blast all enemies with each enemy as the centre, dealing additional fire damage to surrounding enemies. 3 stack of burn increases the damage. So again, this is another reason you want to, if you can, separate your heroes. So ideally 1 melee and then everyone else sort of spread out so you're not cluster bombing each other. Again, not something that I've necessarily concerned too much about in here, but you know, where I've fallen short, you can excel by making sure you're using as many raised heroes as you can. So I have done 10 teams, okay, and we're going to start with the first one just here, okay. So this was a 3 melee team with Orfina and Pacunte. So looking at Thunderbolt, okay. In a previous video I did Thunderbolt. It was actually viable in Vortex 3. I've actually used it in Vortex 4 since. It does not keep up with the Rook comps, but what does, let's be honest. But it did a respectable sort of 80-90 million for me, so, you know, Thunderbolt, I think's here to stay now. Looking at the gear then, alright, I have no mythic pieces in any of these comps, because I don't have any on my main account, okay? But we are using legendary pieces, we are using legendary artifacts in this setup. Now, in all of these, I am using Witch's Remains. It's Season 4. I'm going to assume you've pulled at least one dupe, and when you have used that on Witch's Remains. Rift Hourglass, second, and perhaps maybe Staff, third, something like that. Staff I don't actually use very much at all. But yeah, there you go. In this comp then, we've got the Everlasting Diamond, which we got from Famiander, I think, Season 2 or 3. We've got 2 new Season 4 artifacts, Poison Swamp being amazing, and Conch also being useful to place another source of defense down. And then we've got the Goblet, or the Wine of the Dragon Blood on Orfina, so she can, you know, pew, 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 pew. If you have the Dauntless artifacts where increase her attack speed, if you're using the Horseshoe or something else, it doesn't matter too much. This is just what I had. Now, as you can see, 84 million was the score, or the highest that I got. I will run it for you. We don't really have any other decent aura, but I'm not going to run them all. This is going to be on 10 times speed, and we're going to see what we get. Now, Asida is here to dispel and place debuff immunity. So what I did first time round is I just waited until the second ability had gone off, and then that was that. And outside that, that's how I left it. So we'll see if we get the same score again, whether we fall short, how we do, but I do not go the distance on this fight. I don't recall. I don't last the entire 5 minutes. I think a lot of my heroes sort of... I think Shinacton dies first, sort of around 3 and 4 minutes, something like that. And everyone else sort of slowly petered off after. And that's fine. We don't necessarily need to last 5 minutes. We just need to do the required damage. And there you go. You can see Shinacton has bit the dust around the 2 minute mark just there. Looks like we're going to fall way short of what we did earlier, because Aschetius has killed us all. But this time round we've done 34 million, which is way shorter, so maybe I've just got fat thumbs. But what we'll do is we will bring up the Discord picture just to see. So, telling a little pork pie, it wasn't 84, it was 82 million, just shy here, alright. As you can see, the gear was the same, so maybe we just got amazing RNG in this run. Maybe we didn't, but there's my proof. 82 million for this first team that we did earlier. So you get the picture. So the second team then, I sort of took the assumption that we didn't have Pacunte. Alright. You know, can we still perform without Pacunte and bringing in Nissa instead? So the 3 Thunderbolt legendaries. And we got 31 million. Alright. To be precise, bring it across again, we got 31.8 million. And as you can see, we lasted around 4 minutes. So once again, we didn't go the distance. Oh, moving my game around. We didn't go the distance, but again, it doesn't matter because we reached the score that we achieved. Now, in Chief Challenges, if you're pushing for rank 1, obviously you're going to want to push that as high as you can. For me personally, I will always try and achieve the highest I can because I don't have a rook, so Vortex is a no-go for me. So this is the areas that I'm really going to shine, or try to shine. But again, I think it's going to be really hard for me to push rank this season. So as long as I'm getting my 22 million, I'm happy, because it means when Chief Challenge comes along, it's great. So, looking at the equipment plan then, we had Nissa in the fan. If you don't have the fan, you can use Violink, because she does derivative damage. I kept Fathom down in the Witch's Remains with the Cyril set. I kept Orfina in the Goblet, and Shinacton and Scylla also in the same gear. And yeah, 31 million is what we achieved here. So next, I lost Fathom down, I lost Orfena, and we're sort of looking at, if you don't have Orfena, Shinacton, or Pacunte, how well are we going to do? Nissa, I'd say, is probably the worst of the 3 Thunderbolt legendaries. Shinacton brings damage up, which is what makes him good. And we brought in Volthug. Now, I like Volthug here. He doesn't have any gear on, or he's missing gear at the moment, but I like Volthug because he brings attack down and accuracy penalty. So you don't need quite so much resistance. But it says he has a chance to dispel 1 buff if enemies don't have buff after 3 hammer strikes, is when you afflict these. But because the boss isn't inflicting any buffs on himself, this just lands. Okay, so just a good potential option if you don't have Fathom down, something like that. So that's why he's here. And I had it in the Rift Glass to give us the accuracy, but also to try and maintain the uptime on the attack down and the accuracy back down. We then had Nissa, we had Manda, and we had the new guy, Haldi, alright. Looking at the equipment plan, we still had legendary artifacts. We had Root on Haldi, we had the Hourglass mainly for the skill haste to try and get as many turrets as we could up, and then Volthug essentially just took on Fathom Down's gear. Now, as you can see, we only did 8 million in 3 minutes. So what does this tell me, essentially? Long and short, too long didn't read. You either need Orfena or Pacunte to make this work, really. Alright. Thunderbolt, as good as it is this season with Orfena, if you don't have Orfena or Pacunte, it's just not going to work for you, and so I would try to avoid it if you can. Then we tried just Pacunte on his own with Volthug and the other 2. And we did 15 million in the same time frame, so you can see straight away, Pacunte on his own, obviously being exclusive, just brings a lot more damage. There's the screenshot, so you can see 15 million just there. But again, we still fell short of the 22 million. So it's still doable. You just want to try and get the overwhelm stacks up on Pacunte, which is hard to do without Orfena. Now, if we had maybe Shinacton in here, it's possible. Also, this sort of leads back to the Psyche Core sort of chatter, I suppose. If we had that last tier, this is likely very easily going to be able to reach 22 million. Now, for a lot of this fight, I have used Ascilla the entire way around, just because she brings the debuff immunity and the cleanse. If you don't have Ascilla, that's fine. You can maybe try Gillian. She has the removal. Even Catherine, I believe. Now, I didn't test with Gillian or Catherine in any of these. Alright, so it's hard for me to say, yes, it will work, no, it won't. But just something to bear in mind. But in another comp you'll see later, I don't have Ascilla at all. And it is the only fight where the entire team went the distance. So, as much as the cleanse is good, it's not the be-all, end-all, okay? So that was it for the Thunderbolt teams. So we then moved on to Dauntless. As we know, Dauntless are boss killers. They've always been great. And so usual suspects, are still going to be good, and we're going to find that a lot of this, Rook comps are going to be good. Ice Blast comps are going to be good. There's no surprise there. But we're still going to look at a few different options and work our way around. So this comp, we had Nesjenka, we had Sufa, Athelios, Taraval, and Ascilla once again. Looking at the equipment plan, okay, I didn't use Nasty Jennifer's exclusive artifact. If you have her exclusive artifact, shocking news, you're going to do well. Alright. So just like Pacunte in the last one, I just used the Poison Swamp. Ivelios in the fan, we've got Suthra as our Witch's Remains in the Cyril set, Taravol in Orphenas, and Ascilla hasn't changed. Do excuse me, we do have a quick phone call. Apologies for that rude interruption. What I was saying. The Fathom down gear is on Soother, she's a defense down, Orphena's gear is on Taravol. If you got the exclusive artifact, great. The one downside to this comp is there is no attack penalty on here. Single support, no attack penalty. We scored 53 million, but we only lasted 3 minutes. Okay, so it's there's our 53 million. All right, there we are. Interestingly, most of it coming from Ivelios, just something to bear in mind. We get the score we need, we don't go the distance, and it's sort of, as I've done these comps, at least with this boss fight, I've sort of realised that attack down is going to be necessary if you want to go the entire 5 minutes. If you're like me and you're not bothered, you just want to get the score and go, then fine. But and obviously if you've got inspirations and things like that, you'll do well too, so it might be less of an issue for you. But 53 million lasting 3 minutes. So next, I just thought I'd try double support, essentially. Alright, so just to see whether double support would be enough to carry us through to 5 minutes. And as you can see from the title, no it's not. So 36 million. We lasted the same amount of time, but we scored less. So if you are going without attack down, you might as well just try and go all out damage in this particular fight, just to get yourself over the line, rather than sort of worrying about a double support. Equipment plan on here, obviously we essentially just put Witch's Remains and a bit more accuracy on Taravol. And then we had Nathaniel in the Elminster book with a Mona Lisa set. But yeah, wasn't enough to carry us through. So then we move on from there, and we move to no exclusive, no Taravol, but we've got Sufa, we've got the new Season 4 Epic, and Varney. And again, it is enough to see us over the line. Okay, we do score 22 million, or just under 21,895,542. Soother back in the Fathom Down gear. Velios is the same, these are the same. Then we had Vanny in the Goblet, and we had the new guy, forget his name, in the new amazing artifact, which gives us 40% crit rate, and also a Dominator set. And so we just fell short, but with the buffs and things like that, once again, you'll get over the line. Also with some gear tweaking. None of this gear is absolutely perfect because it's the test server. Moving on then, so we went to a more sort of free-to-play friendly team. 16 million in 4 minutes. Just to see actually if we didn't have a Scylla and we just had Nathaniel, can we do it? We have brought the attack down back in with Volthug, and then we've got Nimbus, Shaltar, and again the new guy once again. Taking a look at the gear, Nimbus is now in our Witches Remains gear, Shaltar in Levile Ink, Nathaniel's still the same, Volthug is in the Ancestral, again with the glass just to try and get the attack down on as often as possible, and the guy end hasn't changed. 16 million in 4 minutes, but it wasn't actually 4 minutes, it was like I think it was like 3.5, something like that. But you can't type that in there. Yes, so it was 3 minutes 21, and we got around 15.5. And again, you can't put points in the thing, so I've just sort of rounded up there. But once again, potentially something that will reach 22 million once we get the Alliance buffs, and you get your tier 5 Psyche cores. Then I was like, okay, let's try get rid of Nathaniel, put a Scylla back in, and we actually lasted less time. We scored the same, but we lasted less. So, not entirely sure what went on there, but I could not beat this score, but also I couldn't replicate this score exactly again either. But these two scored about the same, just this one did it in a quicker time. And then the last team, 17 million, you'll know that there's no last blah 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 on the end here because it went the distance, right? And that was with Garius. Okay, so we did have double support here with Garius and Nathaniel, and the attack down from Volthug, plus 2 damage dealers. Looking at here, okay, we've got Witch's Remains, Staff on Garius, and Rift Hourglass. If you only have 3 artifacts, these are the 3 that I assume you're going to have that you've had to purchase. Obviously, Elminster's was an event. And yeah, amazingly, it went the distance. The entire team survived. The only downside here is that we fell short of the damage requirement. But, again, I think that we'll be able to get up there by the time that you sort of get your tier 5s. You also might have different damage dealers. There's something else to remember. If I put in Fathom Down with, I don't know, whose range? Taravol and Avelios, for example, you're probably going to get over the line. Alright. This is how I have them set up. Nimbus back here, because the battle skill is this weird kind of diamond, so he still gets hit. We do miss 2 of these, so probably what I would end up doing is maybe trying to put Nathaniel up top somewhere so that these 3 will move in. I mean, let's just see how it runs. So Nathaniel would get everyone but Volthug at the end there with his battle skill cleanse. But something just to bear in mind and think about when you're using Nathaniel. But yeah, it did survive, which is surprising. So this is something to work on. Again, if you've got some of the heroes, not the others, have a play, alright. Hopefully you've found this insightful. But I suppose quick takeaways then, because it's been a rather long video. least in this fight, try and keep as little melee characters as you can. I've done it with melee characters just to see what will happen, alright? And this team will go the distance, even with 3 melee characters. Attack down is almost a necessity, alright, especially for that ultimate. And you're going to need at least 1 support. I did try Enna just as a cleanse with Garius as well. It didn't perform quite well enough, but something else you can try, maybe Garius, Enna, and Volthug. Also, timings will also play a huge role. A lot of these I just let fly and hoped for the best. So yeah, attack down, at least 1 single support, and as few melee characters as possible, but you didn't need to tell me that. That's a lot of boss fights. So thank you for watching. Look after yourselves. Have a nice weekend. I'll try and get a couple more out, at least 2 more out this weekend. Work hard, but as always, play harder. And I'll see you in another one soon. Cheers.